connected, because this is a very important thing to understand when we're talking about how we are compared to the Fitrah of the earth and the universe, because all of these animals, they are in an ecosystem. They are adapted, you could say, to, or created to function, right? And it's even in their DNA. You can trace that inside the DNA of different animals and almost predicts, right? But how they are doing, how they are behaving with each other, right, is all, so it all works, okay? So that means that if you took out human beings from the earth, all of them, none of them left, you will see in a few years, nature will restore the balance, right? It will simply be overtaking, buildings will be, overtaken by plants until you will see very soon no traces even of human beings, other than now, of course, some plastic parts and stuff, right? And it all will work to, right? And it's consistent, Yes, there are, for example, if we have rats on a farm, we have snakes also, right? So that means no more rats, now more snakes will come, right? As soon as they have eaten most of the rats, you will see you won't see many snakes anymore. It's all balancing, right? And yes, sometimes we have a drought, so certain animals will move to another area, and then it will stop, and they will come back, and so all of this is it's almost like breathing, You breathe in and you exhale, it's like a cycle, right? And we human beings, we insist on controlling this cycle, right? And it's an unnatural thing, and that's why we have most of the problems. And even not just the environmental problems with other people, right? The more we try to impose ourselves on other people, the more problems we will get, right? Leave each other alone, stop sticking your nose in what's going on inside the neighbor's house, focus on what's going on in your house, right? And that's one thing about those people who are saying, you're not perfect, so don't tell me anything, right? Well, yes and no. You should be focusing on making yourself perfect, but at the same time, we are mirrors, right? If you can do something good, then you should try and, be an example that other people can, that's good, right? But the fact is, that shouldn't even be necessary. We should do it automatically anyway. So it's a good start, but the fact that we need examples, right? And this is one of the things that, after being in Indonesia for a while, I feel a little sad that when you give somebody an idea, and if it's something they haven't seen before, they're really skeptical. Right? This is one of the things that Indonesian, they have kind of part of the culture that they have to see, somebody else doing it. They don't want to be the first.
Even though it's logically.
Even though you can prove with the evidence this is what's going to happen, even though they can get a lot rich or get successful or have a healthier life or whatever it might be, they still are skeptical unless they've seen somebody do it first, right? And this is what holding a lot of people back, unfortunately. But that's just the way things are. But at least you can start with trying to get closer to what is a natural way of being. Because the fact is, we complicate things, right? We don't simplify. And the fact is, we should focus on simplifying our lives, right? And the more we simplify our lives, the better we can become, right? And we have so many proofs of that. For example, somebody who is like the gold winner in some Olympic discipline, like the fastest runner or something like that, those people, there are many people who would love to be, into Olympics and win a gold medal, but then many of those people, they have to do a job 9 to 5, then they have other things that they like to do, watching movies, or other kind of habits that they are doing. So maybe they will be able to practice running 2 or 3 times a day, 3 times a week. But the one who simplify, that means that who maybe get a sponsor or some other way that they don't have to do the work, right? Or they maybe have just only that thing to do, so they want to know, number one, what is the purpose? Okay, so the purpose is simply to create a condition in themselves, okay, to connect with the Fitrah so they can be in that natural state. And that natural state basically means like if they were in paradise. Of course, paradise is different. You can't really say, oh, it's like in paradise, because the time is different. The whole understanding of time is different. We don't have a physical body like we are having here in this earth. So of course there's a lot of things, but it's the character. It's the character of paradise. And the Prophet ﷺ was a perfect example of that character. All right? And you could say, like we are saying, is an Adamic character, like Adam alayhi salam, when he came to this earth here. And yes, even though he was expelled from paradise and he was having this awareness that that is not part of being in paradise, that does not is not really good there, okay, because paradise is a much more simple way. Like if you compare paradise with this earth we are living in here, we have hundreds of things that to worry about and to think about and to deal with, right? In paradise, it's a much more, how can I say, like easy is the wrong word really, but it's a much more relaxed condition, and state is a much more, I had a word in my mind that I was but now it slipped my mind. Anyway, but like here, we will think about what we have for breakfast, what we have for lunch, what we have for dinner. We have to think about getting go and shop, or go and, if you're growing your food, go and harvest the food, put the whole thing together, and, it's not like that, of course. At the same thing, we have to think about work, and we have to think about study, and all of those things is filling our life, right? And it's, in a way, very bad that we have all of these circumstances that we have to always engage in, right? It's stopping us from feeling. It's stopping us from being really aware about how we are in our self, right? It's really, it's a big problem, right? And the only way you can really get out of that, dependence is by simplifying your life. It's very important if you want to get better as far as as yourself. You're purifying your heart, purifying your mind, because a lot of people, they don't understand that those two are connected. Right?
Yeah.
You can hear some people say, "Oh, that person has a very good heart and they're very kind and blah blah blah." You know, all of that.
Yeah.
But the fact is, that does not mean that their mind is clear.
Yeah.
Right? Some people, it's very easy for them to give charity or to do some things, but they can be easily in a stressful situation and they are helpless.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
So it's important that you're not only good, as we understand how to be good, like not disturbing other people and of course doing good things, but it's also important to be good, meaning good in yourself.
Yeah.
Not just good outwardly, but good inwardly. And that good inwardly is about having a clear mind that you can observe, and even to the extent that you might have the third eye clarity, which is something that people like, even a lot of Muslims don't understand, that this is completely in tune with Islam, the third eye.
Yeah.
All right? Unfortunately, not many Muslims are even aware of it or ever talking about it, because it sounds like some kind of mysticism.
Yeah.
But of course, it's not like an eye that suddenly opens up and now you can see like you were seeing here. It's wisdom. It's insight. That's why we call it insight, right? Because it's different from the outside, with this outside, sight being coming out, seeing what is outside. It's seeing what is inside, and then connecting it with the outside. So you have the inside and the outside together. Anyway, so our method is using all of the different aspects of life, whether it's your work, whether it's your eating habits, your sleeping habits, your interaction with other people, and a big part of it is your awareness. Because the awareness, the real awareness or the right awareness, okay, because you can be aware of what's going on in technology. That's not real awareness.
Yeah.
Right? What is the real awareness is God awareness and self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right? And then awareness in your environment.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people are speaking about awareness, but the fact is, it's usually having another meaning. Right? That, like, you should be aware, right, that if you cross the street, you have to look to both sides and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You should be aware of that, right? But that's not true awareness. True awareness is that you will sense whatever is going around you, right? You will sense when something is right or wrong, even though you do not understand necessarily what it is that's happening, right? So you will see that with animals often, right? Animals have it in their fitrah to know what is poisonous, for example.
Yeah.
Right? Human beings, they eat poisonous mushrooms, they make so many mistakes. And of course, most of our food today is kind of poisonous to some degree. But you will not see that.
Yeah.
You will not see animals who are obese, for example. They eat what they need to eat according to their fitrah.
And that's it.
And that's it, right? And you can even see, like, for example, some of our dogs here, they eat certain plants.
Yeah.
Right? Even though dogs are not really, known as plant eaters, they are more like, if they can get a liver, they will be very happy. But the fact is that, we have hundreds and hundreds of different species of plants here, even different trees. And they will, at certain times, go and eat certain leaves from a tree.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe some people will say, oh, wow, how's that possible? They don't know about medicine. But the fact is, no, they don't know about medicine. But they have a sense. They have an awareness of what is correct. Okay? And even in our Fitrah initiation method, we are teaching natural medicine.
Yeah.
And we're not teaching natural medicines in the sense that you would see in other places where it's about, okay, you have this symptoms, this symptom, and you have these options, this and this and this and this from aromatherapy or from herbal medicine and Chinese medicine, acupuncture, whatever it might be, where it's a very, structured thing. Because, if you study like that, and this is one thing that I learned through more than 30 years of studying natural medicine, is that it is, in a way, if you start to studying one discipline, let's say you study acupuncture, all right, then if you don't have your needles, you're kind of in trouble, right? Or you might have your needles, but needles might not be the right or the best answer in that particular situation where you have to deal with somebody who's sick or yourself, right? So the natural medicine that we, for example, will be teaching in this under this method is natural medicine that is encompassing more than just modality, like whether it's needles or not. And for example, you can get well without even using natural medicine for something like a herb or something like that, because natural medicine can also be how you use water, right? It can even go to how you use water in Islam, because there are certain things that you can say in water that if you know how to do it, it will have an effect. And then people will jump on and say, oh, that's very interesting. And then they might go into that. But that's really limiting. Right? Because, hey, I can get similar results, and you might not always get the result from that. Because that is not from us, it's from Allah anyway. But we know that certain things happen, then there are certain things you can do, right? And of course we always say inshallah, but it's unlikely that it won't happen. So you can have a fever, right? And there are certain ways that you can deal with that fever, right? And depending on what kind of fever it is, because even a fever is not just a fever, right? And this is something you will learn, right? And so you can deal with it in a way without having to eat something or drink something, which is what people mostly understand with medicine, is that you have to eat or drink something, right? But there are many, many things you can do. And there are even things that you can do to control your body, because through medicine and breathing, if you understand how to use it and you practice it, you can restore your body even from COVID-19, right? Without taking any medicine, just by having a normal diet. But if you know how to deal with it, because one of the big problems is that it attacks the lungs. And how do you control your lungs, right? It's with specific kind of breathing at specific times. And now people are very, direct and say, oh, it has to do like this and this and this and this. Well, it's also up here, right? Everything we do, and this is where you can say we separate the majority from those people who actually get it done, is those who get it done, they have not just the will and the commitment, but they are good at getting the awareness about the situation or about what they are doing, right? That's why you can see, because technically anything we do, anything that I can do, whether it's shooting a bow and arrow and hit a coin from 50 meters, or whether it's something other than that. But technically anybody can do that, because you have hands and you have the same 10 fingers, your body works the same way. So why is it that, even though you practice for 10 years, somebody practiced for 5 years, they will shoot that coin from 50 meters, little coin, right? And they might even flip it in the air and shoot it. I've seen that. Some people can do that. I can't do that. But you see, there are people who will practice that for 10 years and they still can't do it. And that's because they lack that awareness, the connection to what's going on. And that's where we can say maybe that's not very useful to shoot a coin, but it's the principle. It's the idea that are you in touch with yourself, first of all, and are you in touch with whatever is outside you, whatever is around you. And the more you're in touch with it, the better you'll deal with the situation, right? And then if you, on top of that, go towards a more natural state and simplifying your life, right? It doesn't mean, oh, you can't use your handphone because that's too much technology and all of that stuff. You can use many other things. It doesn't mean that you have to go live in a tree in a jungle, but it means that you will look at what you really don't need in your life. You know, whatever doesn't benefit you, cut it out. Right? And, you know, doesn't mean that other people who doesn't do something for you, you should not deal with them, because maybe, you know, they need you. And by other people needing us, we are also getting something out of it, because it is necessary to be needed. Right? So somebody who just go like a hermit on top of the mountain might be missing something, right? Not missing something like, oh, he's lonely and he feels like, oh, I miss my mother, but missing something as in missing an opportunity, right? He have some restrictions that will limit his possibilities, right? There are examples even in the traditional Islamic tradition where there are some of those Sufi masters who have lived in a cave and all they're doing is remember Allah and making some kind of dhikr or whatever. And they come to some point where they are like, you know, they get an opening. They like the opening, the third eye or the connection with Allah is just so clear, right? And great for them. But, you know, how many can do that? How many are even, you know, able to go and stay in a place like that, right? If 1% of the world's population decide that we're going to do that, there wouldn't be enough places to go to be alone, right? So it doesn't, you know, it doesn't work like that. Just like what I mentioned yesterday about, you know, the tariqah. There is a tradition that goes all the way back, is connected all the way to Allah through Jibreel, through Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all of the way to the real authentic shuyukh, right? and they have a great purpose, and it's a wonderful thing. It's a great science, tasawwuf. But the problem is that you can have a sheikh who has 10,000 followers, and 99% of them can barely even keep up with their daily rituals, whatever rituals that tariqah, you know, is the practice that they are doing, because they're all doing different things. So, you know, so they won't get as much out of it like other people who are like, oh, I'll just go and you know, put up a little tent. You know, you can get a little cheap tent, a one-person tent, or you can even sleep under a tree or whatever and stay at where the sheikh is staying. So I can get every day, you know, I can get that whatever knowledge from the sheikh, and you know, and by doing that, and one of the reasons why he's getting so much out of it is because he's not getting out in the dunya, you know, out in the marketplace, out in the work, you know. So that means that he's, you know, he can focus, and by focus, any kind of focus is something that can enlarge and enhance whatever you are seeking. So this is something that is a very important understanding that we have, that, you know, you simplify things, you know, it's one of the first things that you should do, all right, is to simplify. And organizing, managing, you know, that's something good. But the thing is, many people will do that, but then they don't stick with it. Right? You know, like they have a schedule, then they get distracted, and then some other things will happen until they just even follow the schedule anymore, and then, you know, once in a while they make a new schedule and so on, and it gets, because it's very difficult to be consistent. And one of the reasons is because you can organize all you want. You can manage, you can do time management, you can go to the best teachers of time management. There are some really, you know, famous ones. They have some cool systems like the
Yeah.
7 habits and all
Yeah.
of that stuff. But the problem is that it does not last
Mm-hmm.
because you have to work on your Fitrah,
Yeah.
right? Your Fitrah is the core where you have to somehow purify yourself, right? Which will then in turn make everything else easy, right? Like we have like about 24 courses,
Yeah.
right? And most people are, oh, I wanted the management course. I want to get the permaculture course. I want to get, aquaponics or parenting and all of those things. The most important course, right, is the course that we are just starting, Qigong,
Yeah.
Tao, and Islam.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Why is it the
But
first course
first of
we're
all,
gonna be
well,
doing?
because the thing is, you have to start with yourself. Or yes, maybe people think that management is that's myself. No,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's how you're managing your surrounding,
Yes.
your time, your activities, right? But you're not working on yourself, right? And the Qigong, Tao, and Islam is a course that, first of all, teaches you how to understand your position in relation to everything else,
Yeah.
right? And you understand the values, because there's a lot of things that has another value than what you think it has, right? Because everything has to be evaluated,
Yeah.
right? Because you could do 1,000 things. I could choose so many different things. I could be sitting here playing chess the whole day. Wouldn't that be lovely? I'm sure I would enjoy that. But I have to evaluate the time and the activities I'm putting into the time, right?
Yeah.
And it's not enough that I just say, oh, it's a priority, right? You can't even, until you understand the value, you can't even prioritize,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, everything is related to each other, so you can have some evaluations, but you did not understand it. Sorry. So you made that into a priority.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you go to work, that has a certain priority, maybe your top priority for most people, actually.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what is your job, right? How does that actually affect all the things you're doing,
Yeah.
right? So there are many ways that you can regulate your job. For example, maybe you got the wrong job, because job shouldn't just be about money,
Yeah.
right? It shouldn't just be about money. As some of the smart teachers say, some of those modern gurus, they say, don't work for money,
Yeah.
right? And it's very true.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't want to work for free, but the point is that you shouldn't just look at the money part of it,
Yeah.
because you are putting your time, the limited time you have in this earth, how much time you start working when you're maybe 20 years old until you're 60-something years old, or even 70, like a lot of people do today, right? You're spending 50 years, and it's, half of your time, because a third of the time you're sleeping.
Yeah.
So what is left is about 16 hours. And you are working 8 hours. You might even spend time on transportation. So some people it's 9 to 10 hours. So they have 6 hours left, right? So they spend almost double the time on working as they spend on something other than working. And you're doing that for 50 years. And then when you are finished in this dunya, you're looking back and what did you spend your life on? On work,
Yeah.
right? A little bit of time for your children and your spouse and, parents and whatnot. But it's basically what we're doing. And this is one of the traps of this consumer society. But the fact is, you can change that, right? Not that you shouldn't work, of course, but you can choose another work,
Yeah.
all right? Because the fact is, how much money do you actually need, right? There are ways around it, okay? You need to survive, yeah, but hey, you can grow some food, maybe. That will reduce your expenses, maybe, right? There's a lot of other things you can do, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to evaluate not just your work, but your food, the way you're cooking, right? And all the other